Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today is the last part of susceptibility or part 4 in which I'll be telling you how to decipher the susceptibility at the bedside, and I'll be demonstrating one small case on which whatever points I've told you, it will become much more clear. Thank you very much. Including susceptibility with respect to clinical assessment of susceptibility. So this is the part 4, the last part, which I'll be concluding today. So let us see how do we clinically assess the state of susceptibility, or in other words, how do we assess the susceptibility at the bedside. So for this, we have to see these 7 points or work out the case on these 7 points, namely, number 1, nature of the disease. Second point, symptom exhibited. Third point, suppression. Fourth point, type of pathology. Fifth point, the miasms. Sixth point, the sensitivity, both on the mental and the physical level. And the last, or the seventh point, the general condition of the patient. So we have to work out the case on all these 7 points, and after working out all the 7 points, we have to come to a conclusion whether the susceptibility is high or whether it is low. Therefore, I've written the word summation of all the 7 points to be considered. You cannot judge the susceptibility on any one of these points, but you have to work out all these points and then see from a whole, right from point 1 to point 7, whether the susceptibility is high or whether it is low. So now let us see one point or each point, something about each point. So the first point, nature of the disease. So in acute diseases are the result of sudden explosion of latent sora which lies dormant in the individuals. In all my previous videos, I have told you the acute diseases, they come up suddenly. Why? Because the sora which is latent or which is slumbering or which is sleeping or which is inactive, it lies dormant, and all of a sudden it gets into activity because of the environmental factors which are acting on the host. So under favorable environmental conditions, the dormant or latent sora gets activated and the symptoms are thrown out. Thus, in most of the acute cases, the symptom exhibited will be characteristic. Hence, we come to a conclusion that the susceptibility will be high. So therefore, in an acute case, since the onset is sudden, since there is sudden outburst of latent sora, naturally you will get characteristic symptoms. So therefore, we say susceptibility will be high. Whereas in a chronic case, well, it will vary. It depends on many factors. But to cut it short, in a chronic case, if there is no suppression taken place, or if the susceptibility is not being tampered with or suppressed with, then naturally the expressions which the patient will give through the signs and symptoms will be generally characteristic in nature. So if in a chronic case the symptoms are characteristic, susceptibility is high, and in a chronic case, if the symptoms are common, the susceptibility is low. So when do we get common symptoms in a chronic case? So in such instances wherein there is suppression or when there is advanced pathology, we only get the symptoms which are diagnostic of the disease, and we get very, very few characteristic symptoms which will help us to identify the similitude. Now, second point, symptom exhibited. As I told you, in acute diseases, there will be generally characteristic symptoms, hence the susceptibility will be high. However, if there is suppression, there will be paucity of symptoms or only common symptoms will be exhibited, indicating susceptibility is low or poor. So, generally speaking, in an acute case, the symptoms exhibited are generally characteristic. But however, in an acute case, if there is suppression, then in an acute case, you'll only get common symptoms indicating susceptibility is low or poor. So this is of course a very rare instance, but I'm just mentioning it to you so that you can understand. And in a chronic case, again, it will vary. As I told you just now, that in a chronic case, if the symptoms exhibited are characteristic, susceptibility is high. And if it's common symptoms exhibited, susceptibility will be low. So everything is not a watertight compartment. It is very fluid. You have to move according to the case in hand. Now, suppression. If suppression is present, the symptom exhibited will be of less intensity or only common symptoms will be there. And what does it indicate? It indicates that the susceptibility is naturally low. However, in absence of suppression, the symptoms will be marked or of a high intensity or uncommon character symptoms will be present. So therefore, if a strong history of suppression is there, or if suppression is there through the allopathic medicines and the susceptibility has been suppressed, then naturally you will get very few character symptoms, and mostly there will be common symptoms or symptom exhibited will be of a less intensity. This indicates that the susceptibility is low. In this absence, you naturally will get characteristic, uncommon, peculiar, rare, strange symptoms by which you can prescribe. Now, type of pathology. Identify the pathological state and determine whether there are functional changes or pathology is advanced. So you have to see the pathology through the investigations, whatever reports the patient brings to us. And naturally, through the investigations and the symptoms and the examination of the patient, we can come to know what type of pathology is there. So in cases where there is only functional or reversible changes, the state of susceptibility will be high. And in case of advanced pathological change or where there is irreversible pathology, the susceptibility will be low. Now, miasm. So in miasm, we have to identify the dominant miasm and the fundamental miasm. So in acute diseases, the type of miasm will determine the state of susceptibility. Hence, in an acute disease, we give importance to the presenting miasm or the dominant miasm of the case. This will be identified by evaluating the chief complaints of the patient. That means in an acute disease, we have to identify the presenting of the dominant miasm, which is seen through the chief complaints of the patient. So thus, if the dominant or presenting miasm is SORA, we know the susceptibility is generally high. In psychotic miasm, it will be generally low. And in syphilitic miasm, it will be generally extremely poor or low. However, in a chronic case, the type of miasm or miasms will determine the state of susceptibility. Here, we have to give importance to the family history and the past history in order to identify the fundamental miasm. So in chronic disease, basically, we are identifying what? We have to identify the fundamental miasm. In acute disease, we identify the dominant miasm. In the chronic disease, we have identified the fundamental miasm. From which part in the case? Naturally from the family history, and it can also be supported by the past history of the patient. So in the fundamental miasm, either you can get a single miasm or you can get a complex miasms. Maybe that is more than one miasm. That's how I've written miasm or miasms will determine the state of susceptibility. So in chronic disease, it will depend whether the miasm is single or complex and in what permutation and combination. So naturally, if it's single miasm, as I told you, SORA, if it's SORA, it will be high, psychotic low, syphilitic, it will be very poor. And the complex miasm is there, for example, soro-psychotic, then we know that the susceptibility may vary from low to high or high to low. It all depends upon the case, which miasm is more predominant than the other. Then the sensitivity of the patient. Out here, the sensitivity is determined by the type of symptom expressed on the physical and the mental plane. So how sensitive the patient is, that can be seen by the symptoms on the mental level as well as on the physical level. Hence, in a case, if we get more peculiar or character symptoms, it will indicate a high level of susceptibility. So naturally, if the sensitivity is high, either on the mental or physical plane or both, then the person will exhibit peculiar or characteristic symptoms. That shows that susceptibility is high. Whereas, on the other hand, the number of common symptoms is more than the character symptoms, the susceptibility will be low. So it may be so that on the mental planes, you're getting a good number of characteristic symptoms, but on the physical level, you're only getting common symptoms. Okay, so therefore, overall, you have to judge and see on the mental and the physical plane how many symptoms are characteristic and how many symptoms are common, and accordingly, the conclusion will come whether the susceptibility is high or low. Now, the last point, that the seventh point, is the general condition of the patient. So here we have to assess the overall condition of the patient. Now, this can be done by assessing the reaction to time, place, and person, and also examining the vital parameters of the patient. So, the general condition of the patient has to be assessed. That is what his state of consciousness, whether he's conscious, whether he's unconscious, whether he's in a comatose state, whether he's in stuporous condition, so on and so forth. Therefore, I've written reaction to time, place, and person. And naturally, also you to examine the vital parameters, that is the TPR, BP. If found normal, then we can conclude that the susceptibility is not hampered. However, an abnormal finding may indicate a low level of susceptibility. So now let me demonstrate a case in which I will tell you how to work out the case on these 7 points. So my focus is only on assessing the state of susceptibility. I'm not going to go into the other details of the case regarding the remedy, the potency, the repetition, and the follow, and so on and so forth. So I'm only going to focus on how do we assess the state of susceptibility. So in the chief complaint, Mrs. XYZ, a 30-year-old Muslim housewife, came to me for consultation on 1st December 1998. She presented the complaint of pain in the right hypochondria since the 1st December 1998. Now the ODP of the case was that the patient was apparently all right until on 15 November 1998, she experienced pain in the right hypochondriac region. The pain was dull aching in nature, aggravated at night and by tension, that was marked, that is written +3, also by spicy, oily food and by overwork. It was better by vomiting, by drinking cold drinks and lying on the affected side. The pain was intolerable, making the patient restless. The patient was on allopathic treatment for the last 15 days, which made her condition worse. So she was on allopathic treatment for the pain, but unfortunately, instead of getting relieved, the pain got more aggravated, or in short, she wasn't relieved at all. Past history is no history of similar complaints in the past. History of skin allergy in childhood, better by some ointments. History of sinus trouble, aggravated every winter. History of hypertension, off and on. History of piles in 1998 and tooth extraction 6 to 7 years back. Family history, mother, history of diabetes, father operated for piles in 1997, 2 brothers, they were healthy. Personal history, appetite is reduced, thirst reduced for 4 to 5 glasses of water per day, urine, daytime 4 to 5 times and night once, stools has to go twice with unsatisfied feeling. Craving for salty things, sour things, mutton, farsan and spicy food, aversion to milk, digestion poor with retrosternal burning, no flatulence, perspiration along margins of hair, no smell, no stains. Sleep, 8 hours of refreshing sleep, patient startles in sleep, salivation during sleep, and cramps in the calf muscles during sleep, dreams of water. The menstrual cycle, the first menstrual period was at 15 years, regular menstrual period 5/28, flow normal with reddish clotted discharge, no smell or stain. Before menses, there's backache and pimples on the face, and during and after menses, no complaints. Thermally, she was ambithermal. Mentals, there was suppressed grief, very sensitive, highly emotional, likes consolation, obstinate by nature, and is aggravated by the least contradiction. Patient feels better in company. Extroverted personality, religious minded, fastidious, fearful, fear of dark, lizards, thunder, lightning, and of heights. Memory is good. General examination, patient is conscious, cooperative, well oriented, time, place, and person. Temperature afebrile, pulse 80 per minute, respiratory rate 20 per minute, BP 100/80, mm of Hg, pallor present, icterus, cyanosis, clubbing, lymph adenopathy was absent. Systemic examination of the abdomen shows tenderness in the epigastric region and right hypochondrium, left lobe of liver palpable. Other symptoms were normal. The investigation reports showed that on 2011-98, antibody to hepatitis C virus positive. On 23/11/98, SGPT was 133.2. 25 on 25/11/98, duodenoscopy showed grade 1 esophagitis with antral gastritis, and 30/11/98, USG abdomen non-specific hepatomegaly. So the diagnosis of disease was acid peptic disease with antibodies to hepatitis C virus positive. Why? Because probable there was history of tooth extraction 6 to 7 years back. There was pain in the right hypochondria, dull aching in nature with restlessness, tenderness in the epigastric and the right hypochondria with nausea and vomiting, aggravated by taking allopathic medicines. Lab investigation reveals hepatomegaly on USG and positive results to antibody hepatitis C virus. Additional duodenoscopy shows grade 1 esophagitis with antral gastritis. So now let us see in this case, how do we work out the susceptibility? So as I told you, we have to work it out on those 7 points. And we have to come to a conclusion on the summation of all these 7 points. So the first point was symptom exhibited. So in this case, overall, if you go to see, the symptoms are characteristic in nature, both on the mental level, on the physical level, and also on the particular levels. And the pathology is also well defined. Therefore, I've written overall characteristic symptomatology is observed on the mental, physical, and particular level, and pathology is also well defined. Now, the nature of the case. Naturally, it's a chronic case which is well defined. Why is it well defined? Because the characteristic features are present, including the pathology. So we are getting the symptoms which are characteristic on all levels, including the pathological level also. Then pathology involved. So the pathology naturally out here, if you would see the investigations, you would know that it is a reversible pathology and also structural pathology. Fundamental miasm from the family history is tubercular in nature. Sensitivity on the mental level is high, on the physical level also is high, because as you can see, we have got a good number of mental symptoms which are characteristic, and also on the physical level, we have got a good number of symptoms which are characteristic. History of suppression is absent. Now out here, though the patient was taking allopathic medication, her symptoms were aggravated. So in spite of that, the symptoms were characteristic in nature. That is why I've written suppression is absent, because the allopathic medicine did not interfere or did not suppress the susceptibility, as a result of which the symptom exhibited were characteristic in nature. And the general condition of the patient, as you can see, the patient was conscious, she was cooperative, she was well versed, time, place, and person. Her vital parameters were quite normal. So overall, the susceptibility, the general condition of the patient is good. So therefore, if we have a conclusion, we would see that all of them point out to a high susceptibility. Let me again take you through. In this point also, symptom exhibited is characteristic. Therefore, conclusion is what? Susceptibility is high. Nature of the case, chronic case with characteristic symptoms, therefore susceptibility high. Pathology is reversible, therefore susceptibility is high. Fundamental miasm tubercular, therefore susceptibility is high or heightened. Sensitivity on the mental and physical level is high, therefore susceptibility is high. History of suppression is absent, therefore susceptibility is high. General condition of patient is good, therefore susceptibility is high. So if you go to see outright on all these 7 points, you are getting a conclusion that the susceptibility is high. So therefore, from the summation of all these 7 points, we have come to the conclusion that the susceptibility is high. So this is how you have to work out every case, whether it is an acute case or whether it is a chronic case. Okay, so this will tell you how to work out the state of susceptibility clinically or at the bedside. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed my video. Please do subscribe, share, like, comment, and forward. And please do share this link of my video to other students from different colleges so that they can be benefited. Thank you very much.